Hello Scorpio, this is your June 2016 horoscope with Lada from Astrolada.com for anyone who has their Ascendant, Sun or Moon in Scorpio. So how does this month start? Well, it's a very important month because Mars, the planet that rules your Scorpio, this is you, is going back into your sign in Scorpio, is retrograde for the whole of June, and also in July it will be in your sign, but it will be moving direct, so the energies will start shifting. From the end of June, it's like you're receiving the green light to start proceeding forward again from the end of June, basically. But this happens very rarely that Mars will be retrograde in your own sign, Scorpio. This happens once every 17 years. And I think that the last time it happened, even it wasn't retrograde in Scorpio, but in Sagittarius, so it omitted you, so maybe it was 34 years ago. So that's Mars is the planet of big changes when it goes retrograde in your sign, and it directly affects you, especially those Scorpios that are born in the last 10 days of Scorpio, basically those November born Scorpios from around the 12th to around the 22nd of November, or those who have their Ascendant or Moon in the last 10 degrees of Scorpio. This is where Mars is retrograde over the last 10 degrees, from 20 to 30 degrees in Scorpio. So what does it mean? Well, Mars is definitely pushing you to change something about your life. It's definitely pushing you in a big way to change the direction where you're heading towards. Mars can create certain complications when it's retrograde in your sign. Escalation of frustration that builds up within, because Mars wants to push you to make the change yourself with your own willpower. And if you're resisting it, you can attract conflicts, more arguments, you can attract more frustration, basically. And it's a good time to basically work out to release some of that tension that the retrograde Mars in your sign is creating, because physical exercise of some sort, some energy work that suits you. Otherwise, so you do not attract it from outside, so it does not create too much psychological stress and tension. Sometimes when Mars is retrograde on your Ascendant, Sun or Moon, there can be minor accidents that happen, so watch out for them. But it's also, I've seen many people go through important operations of sorts, because Mars is the scalpel and the Sun, Ascendant and Moon are connected to the physical body. But that's in extreme cases, and they usually tend to go well, actually. I had a couple of clients who had Mars retrograde in their first house in Sagittarius, and they had operations during the Mars retrograde, and they turned out fantastic, basically. It can also indicate a time where you have to be fighting for something more strong, your first house is you and what you want and what your needs are and where you see yourself going, and standing out for yourself and becoming more assertive. But again, don't start the war yourself, but speak up if something you consider is not fair on you. If you might have to fight for something, again I repeat, something like either it's your rights or something that you really believe in. You have to put extra efforts into making it happen. But this is exactly retrograde Mars there is giving you the opportunity and the extra push, because a retrograde planet, I repeat again, requires 3 times more efforts, because it's 3 times closer to Earth and it's more intense, its energy. And it can even create some complications that you have to solve. But once you've put all those efforts, and once the planet starts moving direct, Mars, when it starts moving direct towards the end of June, the beginning of July, you start seeing the results of those extra efforts, something that you had to fight for, something that you had to assert yourself for, something that you receive like a breakthrough, basically, and things starts getting untangled, and you start moving ahead, and the results of those efforts are, as I said, 3 times more productive and longer lasting. This is an ideal time to change your physical look as well, if you want some kind of a physical transformation of a sort. Because also Mars is in Scorpio, the sign of transformations. To maybe do some physical workout routine. And Mars rules your 6th house of health. So being retrograde in your 1st house of the physical body, it can be a really appropriate time to fix your routine, your health routine, to start working out, to change your diet in some way. And it will require 3 times more efforts, but it will be lasting after that. Maybe to stop smoking, maybe to stop slouching, maybe to learn, maybe to get one of those desks where you're walking and working on it, something like that, that Mars can bring this change, which will affect your health as well and your daily routines in a big way. But overall, Mars rules you yourself, so it's almost like this retrograde Mars is empowering you know, because Mars is you. And even though you might have to be going back and reviewing certain things and reassessing certain things because it's moving backwards, it's this reassessment, this psychological operation and self-analysis that you're doing on yourself is empowering. And when Mars starts moving direct, you'll have new initiatives in your life. You'll have extra strength and power to move ahead with her. And Mars, as I said, is like a surgical knife that removes things that we're attached from, things that are no longer necessary. And it's in your own sign, so you Scorpios will feel it the most, that this like a incision operation that you kind of, you say, enough, I've had enough with that, I'm cutting it out of my life. This is Mars, you know, and I'm gonna start doing this, but it requires physical push and energy as well. Some of you might be required by purely mundane circumstances to be more, to put extra physical energy into something, for example, so it can just be simple as that, as manifesting like that. And but on the deep psychological level, it teaches you, this Mars retrograde, and when it starts moving direct, how to be more self-empowered, more initiative, more self-initiative, and more your willpower, increasing your willpower and your self-assertion. So you see there are good positive results that can happen out of that. And I've been having a lot of Scorpio clients that were saying, yes, there were some issues that are complicated and stressful, but I'm feeling so much more empowered of being able to work on them and solve them strategically, you know. Okay, so another thing that is happening is that you have quite a few planets triggering your 8th house this month, specifically in June, Scorpios. And your 8th house is the house of shared resources. The house that you know, taxes. So you might have to be arranging certain things with taxes, with inheritances of some sort. It might have to do with solving out some financial matters, because Mars, you know, the 8th house where these planets are, is a financial house. So they can be more focused on such matters, especially finances that are mutually shared with a partner. They can be a renewal of new ideas, how you can create more financial stability by cooperating with others, by using other people's resources, or partnering with your partner, you know, or business partner, or associates of some sort. But these can bring to financial increase after that, for changes, financial changes. So pay attention to those ideas. But the 8th house is also quite psychological house. That's why I think the 8th house is the house of Scorpio, basically. And you're having Mars in Scorpio, your planet, in your own sign, in the 1st house. And the 8th house of Scorpio is triggered by so many planets, which are part of a grand square, grand cross, as we call it. So it's very Plutonic energy, Scorpios. It's almost like you're becoming 3 times more 3 times more Scorpionic than you are. You're becoming way more, some of you might become more suspicious, more, you know, examining things more in depth. This is very Scorpionic energy, to dig deep, to find all the motivations and the reasons, to research to the bottom, to scrape to the bottom. And for some of you it might be psychologically that you are re-examining yourself, your motivations, your fears, what is your obsessive and compulsive energies, what is self-destructive to you, what is self-sabotaging you. And all those planets are helping you exactly for that. It can be extremely healing time to even be with a counselor to explore those things, go dig deep under the surface. But eventually both the 8th house, you know, it's the house of empowerment and rebirths, deaths and rebirths. Some of you might be feeling like an old part of them is dying now in June. And by the time those planets move out of your 8th house, which is a Scorpionic house again, and Mars starts moving direct by the end of June, you'd almost come out like the bird phoenix, renewed, with new insights about your future, about where you're heading, with new, improved willpower and better understanding about what triggers your psychological, what basically the 8th house is: jealousy, compulsions, obsessions, even addictions, anything that is kind of extreme in our subconscious, our traumas from the past. So those planets can help bring light to these matters and help almost like even though the process is intense, it's psychologically difficult, very likely. It cannot not be. This is one of the most difficult houses. And Scorpio, you're already Scorpio. It's your house that's triggered. And Mars is retrograde there. But by the end of this process, you can come up like the bird phoenix, reborn, empowered, having been able to remove and to cut off certain unhealthy habits, unhealthy attachment, or unhealthy traumatic experiences that you felt from the past, to have a deeper understanding of them. But on the more material level, I would advise you, because the Grand Cross is happening in houses of finances for you in the 2nd, the 8th house, your finances, other people's finances, 5th and 11th house, the 11th house of gains. I would advise you the first 2 weeks of June to not to take financial risks, because there is this tension there between the planets, but to be, definitely to be, you have to pay attention to such matters, but to be more cautious, approach it more strategically, again, like a Scorpio, research things well. And they can be like some push and pull between your resources and other people's resources, what you're giving, what you're receiving back. It doesn't have to be only financial resources, but what you're putting there emotionally and what you're getting back emotionally. There is this tension between the 2nd and 8th houses of give and receive houses that can escalate and bring this transformation again. And by the end of June, I think that very likely your financial situation and your values will be changed as well, through some important realizations. And how you give love, the 5th house, and how you receive appreciation, the 11th house, appreciation through others. There is the other 2 hands of the grand square. They're pulling and pushing in those 2 directions. So you might be reevaluating again, and whether it's something creative project you put out there, how it's perceived by the audience, or whether it's love you give to another, the 5th house, how you're rewarded for that love. This might create tensions in you psychologically and matters for conflict. But once you address them, you can solve them creatively and have a way more balanced spread of resources and spread of give and take, and how you how you receive recognition as well, and how you're being rewarded for your efforts. So thank you very much, Scorpio. Interesting, intense, very Scorpionic month for you. But ultimately it can bring very powerful, positive, empowering changes for you, Scorpio. So thank you very much. Follow me on Facebook. Like my channel on YouTube. On Facebook, I give free readings to people who can enter a competition. And also my psychics and astrologers, they're amazing. They can help you through this more Plutonic 8th house time, when you're examining your deep motivations, and when you're transforming psychologically to go through this process with more ease. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next month.